Tonight's homework is pages 61 and 62. We are comparing decimals and fractions and going back and forth between them. So the first question says, which fraction is larger, 8/10 or 73/100? I see within the problem, for part B, they give me two fraction grids. So I'm going to use that first to help get my answer. So I'm going to do 8/10 in green. So there's 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, and 8/10. Remember, 8/10 is that whole strip. So that's 8/10. Then I'm going to do 73/100 in red. That means 73 little squares need to be filled in. So there's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 71, 72, 73. So I can see that this one has 2 rows not filled in. And this one has 2 rows not filled in and part of this 3rd row not filled in. So more of 8/10 is shaded because it uses more squares. It uses 80 squares instead of 73. So somehow you need to say something about it filling more space, or it being closer to a 1, it having 20 left over versus 27 left over, or it has 80 colored in and 73 colored in. Anything along those lines to help you explain it. Then it says to record each as a decimal number. Well, we have no holes. Neither one of these has a whole square. So I have 0 for my whole number. And then I have 8/10. And I know from our conversations in class, tenths is right after the decimal point. And for 73/100, I have no whole numbers. And then I know that my number has to end in the hundredths place. And I can also see in my picture that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 full strips, and the full strip was a tenth. So I have a 7 in the tens place, and then 1, 2, 3 hundredths left, so 73/100. Number 2, on the first grid, shade a number between 75/100 and 8/10 and label it. So you're going to have something filled in between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 75/100, and then 80 would be the whole amount. So you're going to have all of those shaded, and then you could have any combination of those. And your answers are either going to be 76/100, 77/100, 78/100, or 79/100. And then the same thing goes with our second grid. You're going to have the same picture somewhere between these filled in, somewhere in the red, and then your answers are going to be between those decimal numbers as well. And then compare the two numbers you shaded. So if you're closer to 79, that's bigger than 76. So that inequality is going to be based off of the number that you picked. On the back, I'm going to put over here that place value chart that we've been working with. Our ones, our decimal point, our tenths, and our hundredths. So I want to write 2 and 83/100. So I have a 2 in the ones place, and means my decimal point, and 83/100. So 83, and it ends in the hundredths place. Then I have 1 and 6/100. So I have 1, and I don't have any tenths, but I have 6/100. And the next one says, write this decimal number in words. So I have 2, My decimal point is and. Then I have 94. Oh, I forgot the E. And then I have to say that last place where it ends. So it's 94 hundredths. Then I'm comparing. And I have to look at each place value. So there's zeros in the ones place. Then I have an 8/10 and a 7/10. Well, 8/10 is bigger than 7/10, so 8/10 wins. Here I have zeros in the ones place. Then I have a 5 and a 6 in the tenths, so 6/10 wins. Here I have zeros in the ones place, 6's in the tenths place. This one has a 0 and this one doesn't. But I know because of our class conversations, I can add as many zeros as I want to the end, so those are equal. Number 6, Allison says that 1 6/100 is bigger than 1 2/10 because 6 is bigger than 2. Do you agree or disagree? Well, we disagree. Because, and I'm going to say the 2 in the 10th place is bigger than the 0 in the 10th place. And we know that it's not how many decimals there are, but where those are in their place value that makes the difference. Number 7, Eric is 4 23/100 feet tall. Stacy is 4 3/10 feet tall. Who is taller? Stacy is taller because, again, that 3 in the 10th place is more than that 2 in the 10th place. So we could say that 4 3/10 or even 30/100 is more than 4 23/100. And the challenge. 1 year ago, Charlie's chameleon was 8 42 inches long, 42/100 inches long. Now his chameleon is 9 36/100 inches long. Show your work with numbers. How much did Charlie's chameleon grow? Well, that tells me that I need to subtract to find the difference. And subtracting with decimals is no different than subtracting with whole numbers. 6 minus 2 is 4. I can't take 4 from 3, so I need to borrow. 13 minus 4 is 9, and 8 minus 8 is 0, so he has grown 94/100 of an inch. And how much more does his chameleon need to grow to be exactly 10 inches? Well, there I need to take 10 inches, and I need to subtract the 9 36/100. And notice how I lined those up. I lined up my ones place, because that's what they both had in common. Now I need to add my decimal point and zeros so that it looks like a subtraction problem I can handle. And then I need to borrow all the way across my zeros. 10 minus 6 is 4, 9 minus 3 is 6, my decimal point, and then a 0. So he needs to grow 64/100 of an inch more to get to 10 inches. That is tonight's homework.